We are ready to begin. This is a meeting of the school board in public for the purpose of conducting school corporation business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There will be time for public participation as indicated by the agenda. Visitors requesting permission to address the board on a specific agenda item should sign in before the meeting starts on the form on the board table. The board requests a discussion time limit of 3 minutes on any specific agenda item, and we ask visitors to make only one appearance per item. We ask those addressing the board to speak from the podium and state their name and address. Board Policy 0167.3 dictates that personnel issues will not be addressed. Concerns about individual employees of the district should be brought to the superintendent or designee. The meeting site is fully accessible. Any person requiring further accommodation should contact the superintendent at the school corporation central office. As is our custom, we begin the evening with a prayer. Mr. Bertrand?
Sure. Dear Lord, thank you for allowing us to make it through another day. Please be with us as we do policies for the school corporation. Please be with all of the teachers and administrators and all of our employees as we'll be starting up school here within less than a month. Please be with them and their patients. Please be with all those that serve and protect us around the world. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. The Board of Trustees respectfully request those guests and visitors be courteous and silence their cell phones. Call to order. Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Ryrie?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Everyone is present, so we do have a quorum. Mission statement. Mr. Bertrand.
Lebanon Community School Corporation will cultivate and reach every student by influencing and enriching their lives through the power of education and do so in a positive and safe learning environment.
Thank you. Good news. Dr. Taylor.
Thank you very much. First, I want to say the mobile library has been available at Hattie B. Stokes in hopes that students who, harmed by teachers of what educators call the summer slide. So efforts were being made to help those students get out and get access to books. Stokes Title I Impact teacher and read-up coordinator Lisa Fisher, along with several teachers she has recruited to help, are spending Thursdays on board the Hattie B. School book bus. Fisher has packed a short bus with books from all ages for Stokes students and their siblings to come, as making stops all around the Stokes district area each Thursday afternoon through July, and the books were purchased with funds given to the school through a United Way of Central Indiana grant, and while the bus is on loan from the school corporation. So we've contributed, but Mrs. Solomon and her staff have gone above and beyond again to make sure our students at Hattie B. Stokes have benefit of summer learning and reading, so we're excited about that. Also, I want to extend a thanks and a good news for the 4th of July parade. Officer Scott Abbott of the Lebanon SRO's Police Department was a member of the parade. Put one of our cars in there, and I have heard nothing but good news about that, so he must grin and wave well. I don't know if he threw candy or not, but we were well represented. Along with, and I want to compliment Miss Becky at Transportation. She actually worked to get a bus together, and she and Jen kind of put together a banner, and so we had 2 Lebanon Community School Corporation vehicles in the 4th of July parade, which is always exciting. So I want to extend my compliments to those 2 individuals. And finally, I want to say publicly a thank you to Lebanon City and Lebanon City Council. I think, as most of us are aware, the City Council voted at their last council meeting to fully fund for 3 years an expansion of our Lebanon Community School Police Department with SRO officers. There is a $300,000 commitment this first year, followed by a $275,000 commitment for the next 2 years. In addition, to complement that, we also received a generous contribution from Whitestown and their city council in the form of $25,000, which is dedicated to our SRO program. And we were recently a recipient of a Homeland Security grant for another $50,000. So we're right at almost $1 million that community, both our communities that we serve as well as our state Homeland Security, have invested in the safety and security of our students and staff. And I celebrate that as a superintendent, but more importantly, I celebrate that as a member of this community. That is a tremendous statement. I want to give full compliment and recognition to Mayor Matt Gentry. Mayor Gentry approached me early on with clearly a dedication to make this happen. And this wasn't, I want to make a statement, Dr. Taylor. This was, tell me what you need. Tell me what you want to make your school resource officer program highly functioning and highly effective. And so we sat down, Chief Smith and I, who I also will compliment for his commitment to this process, put together a budget. We put together a very well thought out list of both personnel, logistics, and operational needs, submitted that budget, and the City Council graciously has awarded us the money. So lots of good things we can talk about our schools and our kids and our teachers, but I want to make sure this good news about our community is publicized, because they have stepped up. A lot of people are concerned. A lot of people give lip service, but someone that steps up, it's a community that steps up and provides concrete support in the form of financial contribution. That's an exception, and that's truly good news. So that's where I'm going to finish good news today. I'm very excited about that. Hopefully we'll have some more good news to share as the meeting goes on. But at this point, I thank you for the opportunity to share with the board and the community good things that have happened to Lebanon Community School Corporation.
Great.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
The band, marching band, was very impressive in the parade too.
Thank you. David, I apologize. You know, you hear them practice and practice. Mr. Tate made a comment today. Wherever you put a line down, you find a marching band in this community. So whether it's in a parking lot, a football practice field, somebody's yard, the city street, Mr. Conrad's got that group of kids moving and marching, and they do a great job.
Yeah,
so thank you for that. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing. And don't put a line in your yard, otherwise the drum and bugle corps will be there. So thank you, ma'am.
Sure. Thank you. Approval of minutes for the June 19th, 2018 regular meeting. Like a motion to approve, please.
Make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Any questions on that? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Audience to visitors, we have no one signed up tonight. Consent agenda for routine business matters. Mr. Tate.
Yes, my pleasure to report to the community and the board this evening our financial report as of June 30th. In the general fund, we've expended 47.92% of our budget, transportation operation at 45.64%. At this time, I'd ask approval of claims numbered 45953 through 46171. The payrolls dated June 22nd and July 6th. The claims total $2,836,913.02. The payrolls total $1,399,641.92 for a total of $4,236,554.94. Request approval of those claims and payrolls, please.
Okay, thank you. Like a motion to approve claims for payment 45953 through 46171 and payrolls for June 22nd and July 6th.
I'll make a motion.
Second, please.
Second.
Any questions on that? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Agenda for routine staff matters. Dr. Taylor.
Thank you. At this time, as past practice, I would ask the board to take as a consent agenda staff matters under A, certified staff, under staff communication, B, and under extracurricular accounts, C. At this time, Ms. Beth DeVinny, Lebanon High School PE teacher and varsity girls basketball coach, has submitted a letter of resignation effective July 11th, 2018. Ms. DeVinny has served as our varsity basketball coach and has had a lot of success, but she is moving on to different job perspectives or different job opportunities, and so we wish her the best. Mr. O'Rourke, principal at the high school, is recommending Megan Lewis as the Lebanon High School Student Services Director. And so Ms. Megan Lewis comes to us with a lot of experience. She'll serve as what many know as the Director of Guidance and Counseling. And so she will fill the role Leslie Dunlap had. And so we're excited about that. Also tonight, Dr. Dye, principal at Harney Elementary, is recommending Maddie McClure for maternity leave.
Leslie Henniker.
Leslie
maybe?
Henniker.
Oh, Dunlap. Sorry, that's what I knew her as when I had her as a middle school teacher. Henniker, thank you. Thank you. I don't remember a whole lot, but I do remember it goes way back there.
That's fine. Take your medicine.
Yeah, I will, thank you. And then Mr. O'Rourke is recommending Michelle McCaig for the Lebanon High School Costume Coordinator position. Steve Smith is Athletic Director, is recommending the following coaches for the 2018-19 fall season at Lebanon Middle School. 6th grade girls volleyball, Brandy Alba. 7th grade girls volleyball, Candace Williams. 8th grade girls volleyball, Amanda Scoble. Lebanon Middle School cross country, Matt Wilson as coach, and as assistant coach, Joy Kaler. Lebanon Middle School girls golf, Jeff Schroeder. Lebanon boys soccer, Doug Mark. Lebanon boys assistant soccer coach, Austin Mark. And Lebanon girls soccer coach, Nathan Marcus. In addition, at this evening, we would like to present Chief Steve Smith. Would like to present the following officers for your review and consideration as the newest members of the Lebanon School Corporation Police Department and SRO program. Mr. John Voorhees, Mr. Roderick Standback, Mr. Craig Ritchie, Officer Mark Tibbs, and Officer Tom Smith. Those individuals have been interviewed and vetted by Chief Smith, and he is presenting them for your consideration for assignments to the schools within the Lebanon Community School Corporation. Also in this, Chief Smith will remain as the Chief of Police, and Officer Scott Abbott will remain as an SRO. Officer Albert Hendricks will be taking on a new position as the Lebanon Community School Corporation Truancy Officer. And those individuals will comprise the SRO department here at Lebanon Community Schools. So I would ask the board's favorable consideration of those recommendations this evening.
Okay, thank you. We will take all those items together, A, B, and C, under staff matters. I'd like a motion to approve those, please.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions, comments on those things?
Just look, I know that like Officer Abbott, he was SRO trained. Is that right?
That's correct.
Are all you guys all SRO trained?
Chief Smith, if you'd respond, please.
Of the 5 sitting here, 3 are. 2 will send to school to get their certification. However, every one of them has extensive experience in the school setting, from either previous schools or on their own accord, wanting to better themselves. So 2 will need training, the rest of them are.
Is that time consuming, or is it?
It's a 40-hour course, it takes a week. If we're creative enough, we can do it during a break if we're off, if there's kids that aren't in the building, or even wait till next summer. But we need to get that completed within their first year of employment.
Okay. I just wondered.
If I'm not mistaken, was Officer Rady also went through that same process when he came on board, or was he already an SRO when he came on? Okay. Thank you, Dave.
Anything else? All right. All in favor of approving the staff matters as submitted, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you
Those
very
pass.
much. I appreciate that. At this time, though, Mr. O'Rourke, I believe you have our newest Director of Student Services with us this evening. Would you please introduce her to the board?
I'm very happy to introduce Megan Lewis. We had 8 members of our staff and Kristen from central office help with interviews. So it was a pretty extensive interview. We're really fortunate to get 17 applicants. We interviewed what we felt were our top 9 candidates, and through the process, through a lot of background checks, all 8 of us, we went down and put down our #1 candidate. So it was a unanimous choice. We're thrilled to have her. This we actually found out through the process, which I'm glad we did because it really didn't bias our thoughts. But she also is a parent in our school district. She had Brownsburg address, so she hid it from us. But she has a going to be a kindergartner at Perry Worth, who was in the preparatory academy last year. Her daughter was 24 in September, will be attending the preparatory academy. So she's it's an added bonus that we really found out that she's really encouraged in our corporation too. So we're excited to have her. She's going to do great work. This is our board and administration.
Great. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Also at this time, it's my privilege to ask Chief Smith to stand and introduce the newest members of our Lebanon Community School Corporation Police Department.
First of all, I'd like to thank the board, whether you were on the board 5 years ago or not, for creating the police department. I think it's a step in the right direction, and this is a commitment from our community that's taking it to the next level and making sure that all our schools are protected. Thank you guys. This is Tom Smith. Tom comes from Frankfurt, 30 years experience there, 18 years experience at the high school level. He is not an SRO. He's probably got the most experience of the 5 that we have up here. Very excited to have Tom on board. He'll be at Central Elementary. So Roderick Stanback. Roderick comes from us from IPS. He, Arlington High School, who's where his experience is. He's the young kid. And Roderick will be assigned to the middle school. Greg Ritchie, he's an 8-year veteran of the AS School for the Deaf. He is very familiar with age groups from high school age all the way up to college age. The kids there at Deaf School stay there 24/7. He's had to work various shifts there, so he brings a wealth of knowledge with him, and Craig's going to be assigned to the high school. John Doris, actually grew up in Lebanon. Got family here, from here. John, his last employee was the University of Marion, in their police department. He worked weekends, Pike Township Police Department, and then he does some freelance work at Holmescroft here in Indianapolis. John lives just across the border into Westfield, and he's going to be assigned to Perry Work. Mark Tibbs, LPD, 29 years, a lot of experience. The only negative thing I can say about Mark is he said something I went to school with Tom Dunn. True story. He is a certified SRO, as is Craig and John. Roderick and Tom will have to go to school. Mark is a certified SRO. So a lot of wealth of knowledge, a lot of leadership, a lot of supervision on LPD, and he's going to be a great asset to our department. And Mark will be at Army. Scott Abbott is going to stay at Stokes. He is going to probably the most training for that position. And Albert, as we talked about, is going to go into reduced hours and be a truancy officer, which is, I've talked to Mark Butler at the high school. He's been in conversation with Mr. G at the high school and Mark at the middle school. Come up with a program to make sure that all the schools utilize our truancy officer to the best of their ability. Prosecutor's going to weigh in and be part of that committee too. So I'm excited. 7 employees. I think I've been telling everybody that August 9th we'll be in school. We'll be there, but the paint may still be a little bit wet. So we'll learn as we go. But I'm proud to have such quality officers. Had over 35 applicants. It became very competitive. Dr. Tedder sat in on a few of the interviews. We had Lebanon Police Department representation sit on the interviews, and it was very competitive. The last 9 that we interviewed could have hired any of them. These guys are the cream of the crop. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief, and I want to thank you for your work. This came quick and fast, and as I've shared with the board, I feel very comfortable in the initiative taken. Gentlemen, as superintendent, I want to welcome you. It's a wonderful school corporation. I've had the privilege of talking with several of you before. I'm extremely honored to have you as part of our staff, but not only part of our staff, but as members of our schools. I know all of you come with extensive law enforcement training. You're all qualified, but I will tell you that you now have the responsibility for the most precious commodity in our community and in our state. And for that, I'm very comfortable with what you bring to the schools. I've shared with the board, I've shared with Steve. I'm excited about this opportunity. I've known Mark for a number of years, his parent, grandparent. Didn't go to school with him, that's Tom, but apparently. But I know the commitment that you each bring to the job, and I'm here to say thank you. You will be assigned to an individual school. My hope is that you go home on a Friday sometimes totally exhausted, figuring, why did I switch? But yet Sunday evening you start talking about excitement that you want to come back. You can't wait to meet kids coming in the door. Can't wait to talk about something with the principal or with one of the teachers. Can't wait to interact with the kids as a group. You have a tremendous calling. This is not a job, gentlemen. This is a calling. And I'm extremely pleased that you've answered that call. I look forward to working with you and supporting you in what you do. And on behalf of the staff and administration, and on behalf of all our kids, Thank you. Look forward to a great school year coming up. So thank you very much, board, for your support and for the fact that students are number one priority, whether it's academics, emotional well-being, or safety. That means a lot. So thank you. Thank you.
Mhm. And we welcome you too. We look forward to getting to know each one of you. And thank you for making this process quick, Chief Smith. We're glad to have you in place on day one on August 9th. So.
I got a question I just thought of. We're putting cameras on the buses, right?
On and outside, both. On the
Right.
swing
So
arms inside.
when a school bus driver pulls into a school, will they report that incident to the SRO officer, or will they do that to the Lebanon Police or the Boone County Sheriff?
Well, our police department has full Indiana law enforcement authorizations. They are police officers, law enforcement officers. The procedure as to how that's reported, I imagine, will go through Steve, and they then have, if they need to submit a citation or they see a violation, they have full authority to do that. Working in conjunction with the prosecutor's office, but working with their own department rules. So I would envision, Dave, I haven't talked with Steve about that yet, but that's an activity that we can take on as school corporation to kind of expedite the procedure. You know, we've heard that we have the support of the prosecutor's office. I will share, we have a new prosecutor. So Steve's reaching out to all those entities, both the juvenile and prosecutor and Department of Family Services, to make sure that we're all on the same page. So that's a good question, but I would envision.
If need be, then, if there was a situation somewhere, the SRO officer of that area could go and set, and if this vehicle continues to, and we're not getting anywhere, could that SRO officer go there and set and watch it and ticket them then?
They have full authority to do that. That would fall under Steve's direction, because we really want to focus on making sure those SROs are in schools.
Right.
But if we see a habitual offender and Steve deems it's an issue of safety and security, then Steve can do it, Albert can do it, or one of the officers that we have in place at this time. Steve, you want to comment?
It's a great question. We have had a meeting on that specific topic with all the department heads. And so we enjoyed everything the Sheriff's Department, White Sound, Zions, all the school police. We're all going to do extra patrols, all work together to help stop the Stockholm violations based on what our school cameras on the buses do. So we've had one meeting with that. We're going to have a follow-up meeting with the department heads. So it's going to be a joint effort to enforce that.
Okay, good. That's two.
I answered the question. Did you get your answer?
Give up.
He's good. All right, item 6, retirement resolution.
This time, we have 2 retirees that we would like to recognize, although I don't believe they're present. And that's Miss Lynn Oliver, Perry Worth Elementary teacher, long-term, and also Miss Jennifer Segner, special needs teacher at middle school and high school, several schools. But at this time, we simply want to recognize their retirement, and Mrs. Beltran will ensure that they receive board's recognition and acknowledgement in the form of the written resolution, as well as their traditional retirement timepiece. So,
Great.
Thank
Thank you. Inwell presentation. Dr.
yeah, thank
Taylor.
you. I've been in discussion with Ms. Clark for a couple years now on how we can better attempt to integrate mental health and emotional needs services into our schools on more than a simply reactive or hit and miss basis. And Inwell has done a phenomenal job since their creation as a service provider in our community in helping our schools. But Lynette and I have talked, and what are some opportunities maybe where we have a more broad-based coverage with full-time support and covering all our schools. So Lynette's here this evening to maybe make a presentation, not maybe, we'll make a presentation, a couple of different thoughts that they have developed at Inwell, and simply is here this evening to inform the board. No action is necessary, but I did feel it was important that the board heard some of the discussion, some of the options that were available, some of the opportunities. Some have a cost associated. Some are some expansion of existing services. But Lynette, at this time, if you would, please.
From here?
Wherever you want to talk. I would prefer the podium.
Okay. Okay, so we have been a service provider in Lebanon Community School Corporation since we began in 2013 school year. Prior to that, I've been around with the school corporation and just seen the needs continuing to grow. I think that we're doing a better job of identifying those that do have needs for services, where we're still in a reactive mode at this point, and there's a lot of the prevalence of different disorders definitely increasing, in addition to, unfortunately, our suicide rate increasing as well. That has been extremely concerning, I'm sure, for many that have continued to see that, even in the younger student population, the elementary level. So with that, would really like to focus on some proactive measures, and I think it also kind of ties in with the school safety at large, because unfortunately some of these individuals that are have a mental illness definitely aren't making good judgment, and so if we can kind of identify earlier, maybe through a screening process or different things that we have discussed, we feel like we could be better equipped. So that's one of the things that I would like to do more of within the corporation. As Dr. Taylor mentioned, simply adding full-time staff to each of these schools, working in conjunction with the guidance departments, the assistant principals, administration, kind of however that is set up. All better? Okay. So
You have our attention.
I hope so. Also looking, so we've been providing skills coaching services as well, so that is in addition to an extension kind of the therapy and psychiatry services. Very beneficial service provided by a bachelor level individual, but super key. Unfortunately, there isn't a payer source for those individuals who have private insurance. That is something, as Dr. Taylor mentioned, some of these things that are requiring additional funding for. Up until this point, we have provided a minimal amount, but our caseload is truly growing. For the Lebanon School Corporation, over the summer still, we're serving 248 students. So that's a lot of kids, and a lot of them need that higher level of care. In addition to that, I would like to work toward I guess blocking out some psychiatry time that is prime for the school corporation. So if the school corporation has a youth that they feel that needs to be moved up on the wait list, then we're getting them in quicker. We've been able to do something similar with the Indiana United Methodist Children's Home and keeping that flowing. And so that has been a really good response for the higher level needs. Because unfortunately, the state of Indiana is toward the bottom of the amount of psychiatry time there is in general. We are very privileged to have in our county and working with us a child and adolescent psychiatrist, which is even more unique to the situation that we can bring to the table. So a variety of these things that we are either going to immediately start or working toward, depending on the ability to kind of seek some supplemental funding, just to help that continue. Right now, I have a team of 6 therapists identified and ready to go into the school corporation, as well as 3 skills coaches. So that means that they will have 2 schools each at this point in time. So that will saturate the schools quite a bit more than what we have over previous years. So I think I hit most of the highlights.
You have
What
a
kind of
total of
questions?
6?
6 full-time equivalents
Okay.
therapists.
Is that, on average, is that high, low, or just average? I mean, for
Oh,
other
I would say
schools?
that's average, and I'm talking dedicated to the school. I have a staff of right around 35 clinical staff.
Okay.
So we definitely have, the ability to respond.
You have more if needed?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, but I'm talking one dedicated in each of your schools.
Right.
So
Okay.
similar, Mr. Bertrand, philosophy we have with our SROs, we would like one dedicated mental health service worker, I won't say provider, but a trained individual that's readily available within each school.
Okay.
So now, we have a number of InWell employees currently within every one of our schools, but they're there not so much dedicated to the school as they are dedicated to a specific case.
Okay.
And that would continue, but now my hope would be that we would have greater access on real-time response instead of delayed with a recommendation and a referral and an in-processing, having that relationship develop between a full-time person, and then either to work immediately to intervene or to work with Lynette and her team to provide them the appropriate services. Inwell also has partnered recently with Witham in looking at adult services, so that's another venue that a relationship with Inwell would afford the corporation to have, and Witham has been an excellent partner for us up to this point too.
Yeah, we are full-time in the pediatrician's office here at Witham, and so they have a large part of, the youth that are served or that attend the schools. They have a very large practice, and we're there, like I said, 40 hours, and it's really worked very well in doing what we would consider a warm handoff. And we are doing some of those upfront screens in their office, where anytime there's a crisis, they simply walk down to our office. And I think the partnership has just really exploded there, and just wanting to tie all of that in, because right now, if we operate in our own silos, it's a little more fragmented, but the more we can all work together to treat the child as a whole, the better success, as I know you know.
Other questions for Lynette?
So there's two options that
We
you're
have
looking at?
looked at two primaries. One has a cost with it. One is more of a kind of their in-kind work that they provide, not even in-kind. They're just support of the schools. My focus tonight was to simply bring the board information about the process and the direction we'd like to look at, and with the board's permission, I will continue to work with Lynette, and we'll provide a proposal for board's consideration. We'll continue to work with the financial end of it, see how we can maximize services as well as compensation, and then bring that back for formal board approval as a contract provider.
I'll just make one statement here. I know Inwell does great things in the community, but I think that it goes along with our SRO program, as Ms. Clark said here. Mental health is a big part of what we're seeing, and I think that I know we've had the conversation before, where does it stop from the school being that person to provide those services, but they're in our schools, and I think that we need to do whatever we can to help with that process. So whenever
we concur that we think the mental health issue, emotional issues within schools have become more prevalent. We've seen some of the side effects of that, either in some student distress issues, or in the severe situation where we have some suicide. But this is an attempt to be more engaged and proactive than reactive, and instead of doing follow-up, we do forward-working activities. And this would also include, in many cases, engagement of families, school administration as well. So the purpose this evening, and then I want to thank Lynette, was to simply prepare the board with some information. We'll do more in-depth, and we'll make a recommendation to the board as to what avenue we want to continue to pursue, and then we'll go from there. Okay. Thank you, Lynette.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Good. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Item 8, Library Board Appointment. Dr. Taylor.
Yeah, the Lebanon Library Board has a Lebanon Community School Corporation representative, and the appointment of that is at the discretion of the school board. At this time, help me here, Mel, who's our representative?
Kendra.
Kendra Whipke, thank you very much. Kendra has expressed an interest to continue. It's the board's determination if they want to approve Kendra as their designee and representative on the board, and I would endorse that and simply ask for the board's favorable consideration for her continuation on the Lebanon Library Board.
Okay. And that's for 4 more years, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
I'd like a motion to approve Kendra Whipke as our Library Board representative.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Comments, questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No opposed, motion passes. Item 9, approval of policy 5341. Dr. Taylor.
Yes, we've had 2 previous readings on 5341. That is the emergency medical authorization policy. At this time, I would ask for board's formal vote of approval to accept this as presented for incorporation into corporation policy.
Okay. Like a motion to approve policy 5341, please. Second?
Second.
Any questions on that? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Second reading for policy 5330.
Thank you. We have before us the second reading. This was presented for the board's review. It is the use of medications within the office, within schools. This was reviewed by each of our school nurses under the direction of Mrs. Scott. I think everyone has a highlighted copy of the additions to the current policy, and we'll simply present that to the board for any questions that they may have or any comment at this time, and then it will be brought back for final approval at the August board meeting.
Okay. Any questions on that? Nope. All right, second reading of the single point of entry policy.
Yes, we presented to the board last month our preliminary policy on single point of entry. This policy discusses daily protocol, response, staff member responsibility, administrative responsibility, both at the building and district level, and consequence for breach of protocol. Again, second reading, and I would ask any questions the board has at this time or any comment. We would entertain that. This will be brought back in August in time for a final vote of approval if the board deems that appropriate, and we would implement that for this coming school year.
Okay. Any questions on that? All right, thank you. First reading of policy 3220.01.
3220.01 is teacher appreciation grants. The policy in general says the school board shall adopt an annual policy concerning the distribution of teacher appreciation grants. This policy shall be submitted to the Indiana Department of Education, basically upon approval, along with the the School Corporation staff performance evaluation plans online by September 15th. We will have this as a first reading at this time. Second reading will be in August with the board approval request in September in time for the submissions. This is a requirement as put forth by the Indiana Department of Education. I would entertain any questions at this time.
Basically, we have to do it, or they don't.
Yes.
No questions then. Okay.
Very good. Thank you. We'll enter that as a first reading and bring it back for the board's review next month as well.
Okay. Item 13 requires a public hearing on a proposed project and GO bond, a 1028 hearing. So within our meeting, we need to call another hearing to order. Mr. Tate.
Yes, so thank you. The hearing for the GO bond is now in session pursuant to Indiana Code 20-267. Before a school corporation spends more than $1 million to build, repair, or alter a school building that would be financed, it must hold a public hearing at which explanations of the potential value of the project to the school corporation community are given. And the hearing is open to public comment. So I'll first start out with reviewing some of the projects that we have planned with these funds. As previously been discussed with the board, we will plan to purchase school buses over the next 4 years with these funds. In 2019, we have plans to do a playground renovation at Central Elementary. We also have plans to do LED lighting conversion at Harney and a playground upgrade also at Harney. Some ceramic tile replacement, additional parking at Perry Worth, HVAC work and roof work at Stokes, middle school HVAC and mechanical work, and the high school some tunnel work, sump pumps, lighting, etc., along with pool deck and drain repairs. In 2020, our tentative projects are gym roof work at Central, Harney roof work in 3 sections, Perry Worth the metal roof maintenance, at the middle schools, also some roof repairs, chiller rebuild, roof work at the high school, and administration. The following year, tentative work is exterior drainage at Perry Worth and locker room and roofing at the high school. And last year, the project, transformer work at Stokes and parking lot repairs at the high school. So those projects are tentatively set at just a little over $5 million in estimate at this time. So I would open comments or questions from the community and/or the school board at this time.
Okay, well, no one has signed up to speak, so no one from the community. Anyone? Board member?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, I'd ask the
Okay.
board president to close the hearing at this
All
time
right.
then.
Like a motion to close the hearing.
Make that motion.
And a second, please.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, hearing is closed. Item 14, Mr. Tate.
Okay, we have consideration, and these next three items are in the board packet, and they all deal with this GO bond that is proposed. So I will read Exhibit A, the project resolution, into the record at this time.
Okay.
Whereas the Board of School Trustees, the Lebanon Community School Corporation, at a meeting on July 17, 2018, held a public hearing in accordance with Indiana Code 20-26-7-37 for the purpose of answering questions and listening to taxpayers' comments and any evidence they may present about the proposed renovation of and improvements to school facilities throughout the district, including the purchase of buses, equipment, and technology. And whereas the board has carefully studied all the known options and feel the proposed project is best interest of the present and future students to be served by these facilities as well as taxpayers of the school corporation. Now therefore be it resolved, the project is necessary for the purpose of providing an improved educational program and environment for the students. Be it further resolved that the estimated hard and soft construction cost of the project is $4,865,000, and the cost of issuance paid from bond proceeds is expected to be $135,000, resulting in a total estimated project cost of $5 million. Be it further resolved that the estimated $5 million will be funded by Capital Projects Fund and a general obligation bond issue with an anticipated impact on the debt service fund tax rate of 0.0927 cents per $100 assessed value based on the current $1,385,083,319 assessed value beginning in 2019. Would ask board approval of that resolution at this time,
Okay.
please.
Thank you. I'd like a motion to approve Exhibit A as just read by Mr. Tate.
I'll make the motion.
A second?
Second.
Any questions on that? Nope. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
The next resolution I bring before the board is Exhibit B. This preliminary bond resolution establishes the maximum amount to be borrowed, the maximum term of repayment, and the maximum interest rate. So pulling from this resolution, which I will enter into the record but not read all of it, the maximum to be borrowed is $5 million, maximum interest rate 5%, and the payments on the bonds will begin July 15th of 2019 and be paid off in a 4-year period. So request approval of preliminary bond resolution Exhibit B.
Okay, thank you. I'd like a motion to approve Exhibit B as outlined by Mr. Tate.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Any questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Okay, the next resolution also dealing with this bond is Exhibit C, the declaration of official intent to reimburse expenditures. If the school corporation pays any preliminary costs related to the projects in advance of receiving the bond proceeds, it may want to reserve its ability to be reimbursed from the bond proceeds after the closing. Internal Revenue Service requires that a school corporation declare its official intent to reimburse as documented in this resolution in order to reserve this ability to reimburse. So I enter into record Exhibit C and ask board approval for this.
Okay, thank you. I'd like a motion to approve Exhibit C, please.
I'll second.
Any questions? Comments? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you very much for your
All right.
support on this. Mr. Francis,
Thank
do you
you.
have any comments you want to share with
No,
the
you did a
board?
nice job.
Okay, thank you.
Item 17, Mr. Tate.
Okay, the next resolution, 17, 18, 19, and 20, have to do with the new funding structure for public schools starting in 2019. So I bring these resolutions to you at this time that I will read into record. The first one is to establish an initial funding for the education fund. So the education fund becomes effective 1/1 of 2019. So this resolution will bring before you how we're going to initially fund this. Whereas the Board of School Trustees and the governing body of Lebanon Community School Corporation, Boone County, Indiana, and whereas House Bill 1009 required the governing body of each school corporation to establish an education fund for the payment of expenses allocated to student instruction and learning under Indiana Code 20-42.5. And whereas House Bill 1009 required the governing body of each school corporation to transfer to the December 31st, 2018 general fund balance to the education fund effective January 1, 2019. Therefore, be it resolved, the school board trustees authorize the assistant superintendent, Lebanon Community Schools, to transfer the December 31st, 2018 general fund balance to the education fund effective January 1, 2019. So December 31st, the funds that are in the general fund with board approval will be transferred to the education fund.
Okay.
Requesting that approval at this time.
All right. Like approval to establish the initial funding for the education fund.
I'll make motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
Any questions on that?
I should have prefaced this, in order to submit our 2019 budget, the DLGF is asking for these resolutions now. I thought I wouldn't have to bring them to you to December, but they're asking for these to be part of the public record as I submit the budget. So that's why I'm bringing these to you now, at this point in time.
Okay. Thank you. No questions, comments? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, resolution passes.
Thank you. The next resolution is to establish initial funding for the operations fund. As you are aware, the transportation fund, the bus replacement fund, and the capital projects fund will no longer exist. There will be a new operations fund, that all those expenses will be part of the operations fund. Also, expenses from the current general fund will become, some of those expenses that are non-directly related to student instruction will become expenses of the operation fund. So this sets up the initial funding for the operation fund. So whereas the Board of School Trustees is the governing body of Lebanon Community School Corporation, Boone County, Indiana, and whereas House Bill 1009 required the governing body of each school corporation to establish an operations fund for payment of expenses that are not allocated to student instruction and learning under Indiana Code 20-42.5. And whereas House Bill 1009 required the transfer of the December 31st, 2018 fund balances of the Capital Projects Fund, the Transportation Operation Fund, and the Bus Replacement Fund to the Operations Fund, effective January 1, 2019. Therefore, be resolved, the School Board Trustees authorizes the Assistant Superintendent of Lebanon Community School Corporation to transfer the December 31st, 2018 fund balances of the Capital Projects Fund, the Transportation Operation Fund, and the Bus Replacement Fund to the Operations Fund, effective January 1, 2019. Ask board approval of that resolution at this time.
Okay, thank you. Like a motion to approve the resolution to establish the initial funding for the operations fund.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. No one's opposed, so that passes too. Item 19.
Okay, so that will get us the initial funds in the operation, and as I present the budget in a work session next month with you, the operations funds will be primarily funded by a tax levy. Okay, it'll also get support from licensed excise, CVET, and FIT. And we'll get into that in more detail, but I wanted to let you know where the rest
Get
of the
all that
funds
great
are.
information next month.
Yes, sir. I will have it ready for you. If you could hold your excitement until next month, but if you want a personal meeting,
wait.
please set one up. I'd be glad to do that.
I'm good, thanks.
You sure?
I'm positive.
All right, I'm sorry. Next resolution, to transfer amount from the education fund to the operations fund. Whereas the Board of School Trustees and the governing body of Lebanon Community School Corporation, Boone County, Indiana, and whereas House Bill 1009 required the governing body of each school corporation to establish the education fund for the payment of expenses allocated to student instruction under learning under Indiana Code 20-42.5. And whereas House Bill 1009 required the governing body of each school corporation to establish an operations fund for the payment of expenses that are allocated to the student instruction and learning under Indiana Code 20-42.5. Whereas House Bill 1009 requires the distributions of tuition support to be received in the education fund. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees authorizes the transfer of Lebanon Community School Corporation to transfer the amount not to exceed $1 million from the education fund to the operations fund. This transfer will be made January of 2019. So, in perspective here, December 31st, we're going to take all of the general fund dollars and put them in the education fund. Approximately 18% of the general fund expenditures are now going to become operational expenditures. So we want to take a portion of the general fund balance, which is going to go into education fund on January 1, and transfer an appropriate amount into the operations fund, since those expenses are going to go in that direction. So I've not set a specific amount here, but I've set a ceiling amount here. Okay, so when we get to closing out the books in 2018, and I know what the general fund balance is, which will become dollars in the education fund, then I will come to you with an exact dollar to transfer. But I have to set a maximum as we establish the budget with DLGF. Is that questions on that purpose and the reason I've set the $1 million?
That's good. Anybody?
Okay, I would ask board approval of that resolution then.
Okay. Like a motion to approve the resolution to transfer amount from the education fund to the operations fund.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
No comments, questions? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay.
So that'll be a one-time transfer.
One-time transfer.
Okay. The next resolution is the reoccurring amounts. So the education fund is going to receive all of the state tuition support, which currently goes in the general fund, which currently pays expenditures that are not education related. So all the money is going to come into the education fund, but we've moved some of those expenses to operation. So as we receive the monthly tuition support from the state, there'll be a reoccurring transfer to the operations fund to cover those expenses we moved over there. Okay, so that's what this resolution is. I'll read it into record.
Okay.
Whereas the Board of School Trustees is the governing body of Lebanon Community School Corporation, Boone County, Indiana. And whereas House Bill 1009 required the governing body of each school corporation to establish an education fund for the payment of expenses allocated to student instruction and learning under Indiana Code 20-42.5. And whereas House Bill 1009 required the governing body of each school corporation to establish an operations fund for the payment of expenses that are not allocated to student instruction and learning under Indiana Code 20-42.5. And whereas House Bill 1009 requires that the distribution of tuition support be received into the education fund, therefore be it resolved that the Board of School Trustees authorizes the treasurer of the Lebanon Community School Corporation to transfer the amount of $275,000 monthly from the education fund to the operations fund, to reimburse the operations fund for expenses that are not allocated to student instruction and learning under Indiana Code 20-42.5 for the period of the calendar year 2019. Request permission for the reoccurring amount
Okay.
on a monthly basis.
All right. Like an approval of the resolution to transfer the reoccurring amounts from the education fund to the operations fund.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
I'll second.
Questions? Comments? Nope. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank
Okay.
you. So as we live this process in 2019, you know, we can make modifications. We get down to November, maybe we haven't transferred enough to cover expenses, maybe we don't need to transfer as much. As we live that during 2019, we can make modifications. This is our initial plan at this time. I appreciate your support on this.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Martin, request approval for purchase of NWEA license for 1819.
No whereas in this one.
Whereas?
I got some extra whereases if you want them.
I today submit for your consideration the purchase of the renewal of two products from NWEA. They're both for testing, online assessments, the web-based map for primary grades and web-based measures for academic progress, math, language, and reading for grades 2 to 8. My request is to approve the renewal with NWA as described in the quote attached for $27,038.00.
Okay, thank you. I'd like a motion to approve the purchase of the NWEA license for this school year.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second. Mr. Wiry. Mr. Merritt.
Decisions. You call it, no. There you go. Any questions, comments? Nope. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. New business, Dr. Taylor.
Only would ask if the board would like a brief overview and update of summer projects at this time. Otherwise, we can provide that to the board in the next round of board briefs.
Board briefs as well.
Board briefs is fine. Thank
Okay.
you. We'll provide that. Charles had a whole other thing he wanted to read to you. so-
Whereas the parking lot.
Thank you very much. No other
Nothing
new
else?
business at
Okay.
this time.
All right, other business? August 9th, first day of school. August 21st, budget work session at 5 and regular board meeting at 7.
Also would like to point out that tomorrow at 6 o'clock, I believe, at Whitestown, we'll have set up our first on-site registration. Ms. Tottery worked with the Whitestown folks, and so we'll have a bus and 6 iPads, Mr. Martin, set to have people come and register. So we're excited about that.
Great.
Thank you.
Any other business, anyone? All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you.